Hello everyone, you're with Tanisha Ali of Tanisha's Locks Beauty Tips and Potpourri. Today I'm talking about why you might want to get sister locks. Okay, we hear about some of the disadvantages, we hear even the reasons why you want to get them. But if you're still on the fence, these are some reasons that I think would make the choice a little bit easier for you. Number one, carefree hairstyling. You wake up in the morning, you just run your hands through your hair. That's really it, your goal. If you want to look cute, you put a little braid out in there or you put some curls in, but it's virtually carefree. Number one, it's a very healthy style for your hair. Your locks love sister locks. Your hair will grow, it will thicken, and you really can't go wrong with them unless you just dog your hair out to begin with, okay? Definitely going to help your hair grow. Number three, you're not going to have any more bad hair days. Bad hair days are over. You don't have to worry about the rain. You don't have to worry about sweating your locks out. You don't have to worry about whether or not your curls are going to drop from humidity. It's just not a thing that you worry about anymore. So never a bad hair day again. Also, if you need a more controlled look, a more manicured look, that's a bit of a departure from, say, the more free-spirited traditional locks, then sister locks are a way to go, especially if you want a smaller lock and you want a bit more control over what happens as your locks develop and what you can do with your hair. If you happen to be in the throes of a spiritual awakening and you find yourself coming out of wigs or weaves, or maybe you have just cut your hair. A lot of times we know as women what we do with our hair has a lot to do with what's going on in here, what's going on in here, and what's going on in here. And so if you find yourself in the midst of obviously a spiritual awakening or ascending or going within, and you feel the need to reach more out, or to reach out more, not to reach more out, but to reach out more to your natural beauty, then the locks are a way to go. They will deepen whatever spiritual journey you're already on. I feel that a lot of the journey, the spiritual journey that happens when you make the decision to go natural, whether you choose traditional locks or you choose to grow your afro, your whatever the kinks in your hair allow you to be as a beautiful woman of color, the shifts happen on a very subtle level, and over time somehow it corresponds very much to inner work that you begin to do. You begin to over time reflect more on what you feed your body, your mind, and your spirit. And then you begin to embrace other ways to become natural. I know when I started my sister lock journey, I was in a space of having cut off my hair due to some breakage. And I was really kind of lamenting, but it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because I cut all my hair off. It was about this long, and then I went natural for maybe a year or two, something, couple of years. It was maybe this long, a little bit longer in different places when I decided to get the locks, but by then I was already freeing myself. And let's face it, now, hell, look at this. I'm wearing crystals. I'm using crystals to raise my vibration. I use them in my healing practice. I closed my school down. I'm a healer full time. I became a Reiki master. I teach Reiki classes every month. It's a pretty, when you look at from whence I came and where I am now, it's really it's a pretty much an about face. The other thing that is important is if you're tired of fixating on your hair, I think as women of the African diaspora, we spend an inordinate amount of time on our hair. And there's nothing really wrong with that, because your hair is a way of connecting with yourself. It's a way of beautifying yourself, and it's a way of loving on yourself. But sometimes your hair the focus on your hair can take the place of what the focus on your hair is really about. And sometimes it's more inner work, but also the other part of that is and I'm not using my speaker. I need to get it together. Hold on, everybody. I'm just realizing this. The other part of it is that when you consider, if you're going to the salon, you're spending time at the salon. If you are doing your hair at home and you're plaiting or you're wearing a natural style. Natural styles are as much work sometimes, if not more, than relaxed styles. You're at the stores buying products. You're hot curling. You're rolling up at night. It can become the sort of thing that you almost have to plan for. You're planning if you go swimming. You're worried if the weather, the rain, all of these fixations we have on our hair, that can become burdensome, and it can also take away from the time that we need to spend on more worthy pursuits outside of just the edifice, outside of just our external temples. It's one thing if the time spent on our hair was like it was back in the days. It was a time of bonding. It was a time of loving on each other. People got together and there was a sense of community through our hair, but it's less about that today, and it's more about commercial, and it's more about what I look like on the outside. Now, the locks can free you from having to be concerned about that. The locks help you to embrace the beauty within, and as you begin to embrace more of your inner beauty, you actually become more beautiful outside. I gotta say that when I had these locks, and when I go back and look at pictures of me 8 years ago, I actually looked much older and more stressed and ill compared to, I think, the way I look today. And I find that sometimes quite perplexing. But the only thing that I can attribute that to is, number one, it's less judgment, number one, because our self-criticism is a big factor. It's less self-judgment, but it's also that focus inward on that light within that has begun to radiate more, which radiates through me on an outward level. And I think that that may be what I'm seeing, because it's what I'm seeing and it's what I'm judging. So it is a way to free yourself with the preoccupation on your hair. If you think about, even if you spend an hour or an hour and a half a day on your hair, or a few times a week, that's 3, 4, 5 hours that you could be enriching your life in a different way. You could be doing something else that may be more rewarding for you. It's also a way to kind of set an example for your kids, that the focus on the outward is not as important. And the fact that your hair will always look nice and you will always feel good about you, yet you have to focus less on it, is just a sort of beautiful relationship. The other thing is that if you want to grow your hair long, easily, without a lot of worry and without a lot of deprivation in terms of all the things you have to watch out for. Oh, I can't do heat, these products, that product, this is going to do that. All of these other things, I can't, too much chlorine, I can't swim, I can't do this, I can't do that. If you want to grow your hair, if you want to thicken your hair, if you want to give your hair the appearance of being more healthy, a fuller head of hair, then Sisterlocks are a great way to go. Very little tension on your hair, very little weight on your hair. I'm noticing when I do this, the lighting changes and I can actually see the bottoms of my locks. But it's really a great way to increase the health of your hair. Your scalp is going to be healthier. This is obviously as if you are taking care of your hair. The locks themselves will be healthier. if you're doing just the basics, because it doesn't really require a lot. Having Sisterlocks is a wonderful way to look and feel beautiful each and every single day. When you feel good about your hair, you feel good about you. When you feel good about you, you feel good about your hair. So they're mutually reaffirming relationships between the inner and the outer parts of you. Obviously, your hair is not the most important thing in terms of how you feel about yourself, but I've always been a person to feel like we have to cultivate the inward, but we also have to cultivate the outward. And when we can have both of those two areas of our lives in a space where they resonate and we're working on both, then we have something that we create, a sort of synergy that's greater than the sum of each of those separate two things that you're doing. So it creates something else that becomes a source of contentment and happiness for you. And a lot of it is just in the fact that you don't have to really worry about it anymore. It's not something that you really have to focus on. It ends up being something that you can actually rely upon. Another reason is that if you really want to experience the abundance of hair growth that can happen with our hair, then Sisterlocks is a wonderful way to go. Traditional locks are a wonderful way to go. We have this misconception that we can't have long hair. I never had that misconception because I grew up around women that had a lot of hair, and that just was not something that I was conditioned to believe. I always knew that it was not the lack of hair growth that was the issue. It was all of those things that we tend to do as women of the African diaspora that actually break down the hair and that actually cultivate breakage and drying and hair loss. So for me, I didn't have that problem, but there are a lot of us who don't think that our hair can grow long. And this is a way for you to see that you can have the same abundance that anybody else or any other ethnic group has. In fact, depending upon your particular genetic disposition, the way you care for your hair, and some other factors, you will find that your hair will grow faster than most of your other ethnic counterparts. Your hair will outpace the rate at which their hair grows. I know mine does. And this that you see is not even half of the real length. This has been shrunk, it's compressed, and so what you may see in terms of length is really not a full representation of all of my length. That's something to actually keep an eye on. The last thing, well, the last two things is that Sisterlocks are a cheaper alternative to hair maintenance long term. Although you hear us riff and beef about the cost of Sisterlocks, a lot of that has to do with the initial upfront cost. A lot of that has to do with people who feel that the installs are being overpriced, which I do agree with, even though I'm an entrepreneur and I'm all for free enterprise. I think we have to weigh that with what we're really asking people to do. And I know that in the marketplace it's about supply and demand. So the more of us that are willing to pay these rates, the more the prices will go up. And that's something that we have to balance. I think that a style that requires a lot of hours, multiple hours, I'm talking about 2 and 3 days worth of install, maybe we need to start looking at it in terms of a project, the way you pay for a project. When someone comes in your house and they're working on your home, there's certain things you charge for by the project, and there's certain things you charge for by the hour. Certain things are not project worthy and certain things are not hourly pay worthy. You wouldn't pay someone $100 an hour to do your hair necessarily if you know that they are doing locks or if you know that they are doing individuals. However, it may not seem unusual to pay $100 for a relaxer, a set, and a cut. And that may take an hour and a half. So I think that there's some variability in there, no doubt, but there should be some greater considerations. I paid $450 for my hair and $50 for each additional inch. So I had 6 inches over 5 or 6. So I was at about 11 or 12. $7.50 was an excellent price to me. I didn't blink or bat an eyelash at that 7-8 years ago. But when I hear people paying $1,000 for 2 and 3 inches, I don't understand what that comes from. And I just don't know if I feel that is I don't even know what the word is. I'm not sure that I feel that that's a fair price, and what actually differentiates the service that a person is getting. If this were something that was in great demand and you couldn't find a loctician to do it, and a person was the one person in their geographic area and they really didn't like doing them, and they decided to raise the rate because they had too many clients coming in and they needed to narrow the number of clients, I get that. I get you have to charge for time and all of that. I'm just wondering what that comes from, and maybe that is something I need to speak to a loctician about that charges that. Maybe I would have more understanding. But over the long term, even if you pay that amount, you are going to save money over the long term. Remember, your money is not just your effort. Your money is your time. Your money, what you're paying for is an investment, and the actual dollar for dollar that you'll save will become apparent if you're one of those people who go to the salon, if you're one of those people who wear hair weaves and you have to buy hair, then you have to have it installed, then you have to have these products. You're going to find over the long term it's less hassle, it's less money, and your hair will be in better condition. So for that reason alone, it's worth it anyway. It really, really is. I'm trying to think if because I know that there are a lot of people out there that feel like it's just not worth it. But if you sit down, once you do that initial install, if you were to break that install out each year, the same way when you do your taxes and you write off a car, you can choose to write it off initially, or you can choose to break up the tax benefit over a period of years. If you were to just not deal with that part of it at all and just deal with the retightenings, I say I wouldn't be getting a retightening more than every 8 weeks anyway, and I go much longer than that. But every 2 months, let's say, most people tend to pay less than what I pay. I pay $130, $140, and then I tip sometime. So if you figure, even if I was paying $150, okay, if I paid $150 and I did that, what would that be? That'd be 6 times a year, right? That's $900, and I'm not paying $150 all the time. And I'm going 3. I'm going like every 10, 11, sometimes 11 and a half weeks. But at that $900 price point, and I'm paying more than most people. Most people are paying $100, $110, and they're going every 8 weeks, which means they're paying $600 a year. If you think about the barrettes and the hair accessories you might be purchasing, the hair products that you would be purchasing, the travel time, gas time to and fro wherever you're going to get it done, the actual style that you're paying for, if you're wearing wigs or you're wearing weaves, the actual hair, all of these things count. If you're getting twists done by a hairstylist every few weeks, those things count, and those styles are not permanent and they have an upkeep requirement. So when you look at it that way, it is it's something that evens out, and over time is worth the investment because you don't have the aggravation. You have a beautiful style all the time, no matter what. So these are the reasons. And there's one last thing I wanted to mention. I talked about if you're trying to grow hair and all of that, and I just don't want to misrepresent anything. If you are trying to grow your hair long, locks are a great option, but do not have them installed because you want to grow your hair and then take them out and have long hair. It's not going to work that way. The reason why your hair gets thicker, the reason why it seems healthier is because of the lock. If you take the lock out, you're going to lose a lot of hair. You're going to lose a lot of thickness. It's going to be thin. So this is the style that you're buying into. That's what you want to consider. I'm Tanisha Ali of Tanisha's Locks, Beauty Tips and Potpourri. Hopefully you benefited from this video. If there is anything else that you want to add to this, or something in the comments section as to some of the other reasons why you think a person should go ahead and take the dive and get these sister locks, please leave a comment in the comment section. I love all of you who have continued to be loyal to this channel since its startup last September. I think we're approaching 3,500 subscribers. I love it as much as I did every single day that I started this channel. I love it very, very much. And also, I have another healer friend, and we are starting a joint channel. We already started it. We did our first video yesterday after a co-workshop that we gave for women on how to connect to your core. The channel is called High Vibes. Now, you know, I already have the Butterfly Transformations channel that I regularly upload to, that has to do with spiritual wellness, upliftment, standing in your power, feeling into some of the aspects of your deeper self and your spiritual journey, and then also evaluating your psychic abilities and things like that. That channel continues, but this channel is called High Vibes, and this will be a channel that the two of us will dialogue on a regular basis regarding issues related to women, feminine energy and empowerment, embracing the fullness of who you are, and also addressing issues that we deal with in our practices related to relationship, discovering who it is that you really are, what it is that you really want, cultivating those things in your life that make you happy, and dealing with some of the challenges, emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical, that we as women deal with regardless of our backgrounds, that threaten to keep us from living fully and feeling not only the zest for life and the grace of God, but feeling connected, truly, truly connected in a way that makes us wake up every day happy and energized and ready to meet the day's adventures or challenges. So that channel is High Vibes, and we're just getting started. I think we have 1 subscriber, and that's me. I don't even think Affinity, who is the sister who does the channel, will be doing the channel with me, has even subscribed to the channel. But yeah, that channel is there, and then there's Butterfly Transformations. So if you have enjoyed this video, then 9 times out of 10 there's something beyond the hair that you're resonating with, especially if you've made it to the end of the video. So I would encourage you to reach out to Butterfly Transformations and High Vibes. I plan to be consistent with those channels regardless of the time that it takes me over the next, I don't know, I hope year, 2, 3, 4 year as the channel grows, because I really believe that the planet and its inhabitants are awakening. I believe that Earth's energy, which is higher now than it has been in thousands and thousands of years, the planet's energy, the energy that the planet is receiving, is some of the highest energy in its history. And for that reason, everything and every entity and every part of what exists on this planet is going to be affected, which is part of the reason why a lot of us are embracing more who we are. And you see women becoming more discontent with the ways in which they feel disempowered. And it has nothing to do with a feminism movement. In fact, it's the opposite. But you see an awakening to the reality of who we really are. And people are waking up and they're embracing mindsets and paradigms that make them feel good about living, but that can be quite a departure from the conventional ways in which we've been socially conditioned. So if those are the kind of topics that you like to dialogue about, or those are the kind of things that make you feel motivated and you feel like you need more of that sort of intellectual provocation, then feel free. Again, my personal channel is Butterfly Transformations on YouTube, but the channel with Affinity and myself is called High Vibes. And if you're interested in a distance Reiki session or a tarot reading or getting a spiritual mentor or more insight on your life and what's happening, or even on a Reiki healing at a distance, feel free to go to my other website, which is Hidayah Reiki. Hidayah is Arabic for guidance, and then Reiki means life force energy. So HIDAYAHREIKI. That's the website where you can book a variety of different services, and the majority of those services are delivered in person as well as at a distance, and there is no difference because we're talking energy here. So I'd love to have you. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Butterfly Transformations and High Vibes to get your spiritual inspirational vitamin. I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope that you're having a beautiful day. I hope that you are grateful for everything that you have in your life, even the things that seem problematic. I hope that you're able to make a shift and to say to yourself, I'm learning this because of that, or it's really not so bad because I have all of these other things as well. But count the small blessings that you have that you normally wouldn't count. It's about more than just having a vehicle to get in and a roof over your head and having children. Those things are great, but they've become almost the stock items that most of us have, but they don't represent the wealth of what we really have. Even if we don't have those things, we have some things that are far greater than that. So search into your spirit and your soul and look for those things that are actually responsible for the life force that you have within you. Tanisha Ali, Tanisha's Locks, Beauty Tips and Potpourri, and I hope to gather with you again soon. Don't forget comments. I love comments, and I do my best to try to get to as many of the comments as I can in a reasonable amount of time. Bye-bye.